If you saw someone drowning in debt, you'd probably think that they're broke, right? It makes sense. But what if I told you that most millionaires not only are in massive amounts of debt, but they're doing it on purpose? And it's one of the most powerful wealth building strategies. Today, we're going to be talking about the difference between good and bad debt. Because once you understand how the wealthy utilize debt and leverage debt, you will never look at loans, mortgages, or credit the same ever again. I'm Cal Connect, a real estate broker, Army veteran, and accredited investor who's used debt in order to flip properties, scale Airbnb rental income, and build a long-term rental portfolio that has grown my net worth well into the 7 figures. But I didn't start this way. I started just like most people. I didn't have a trust fund. I didn't have any winnings from the lottery. I didn't have any inheritance or anything set aside. And I started out thinking that debt was a trap. The problem isn't debt. The problem is using debt to buy things that don't produce any income. So we are going to make 2 columns. We are going to have your bad debt right here. This is the debt that doesn't make you any money. Think of this as your credit cards because you went out and you found something that you really liked at the store that was on sale and you put it on your credit card so you can pay the minimum payment. Well, credit cards have very, very high interest rates. That's just costing you money to have it. Vehicles. Let's talk about cars, trucks, SUVs. If you are purchasing one of these, it is not a very rare antique model that appreciates in value. So think of your standard Honda Civic or Chevy Malibu or something of that nature that you drive off the lot because you bought it brand new. It's going to depreciate by about 30% the second that you take ownership of it. That right there is bad debt because it's not making you any money. I understand you need a vehicle, but it's still considered bad debt. Let's say that you are also purchasing things that you don't need and you need to take out a payday loan because you need to make ends meet. Again, this is not making you any money. If you're going to a place that's going to be taking the title of your vehicle in exchange for cash, that is all considered bad debt. Lines of credit that do not give you any sort of return on your investment. Plain simple. Now, if you have good debt over here, this is anything and everything that is helping you put money into your pocket. So, for example, this could be a mortgage on a rental property. This can help you make a good chunk of change on the return on investment. So if you have a tenant paying, for example, $1,000 a month, and you are charging $1,300 a month in rent, after expenses, management fees, things of that nature, you may be looking at about $150 a month in what we call cash flow. This is good debt because right here, this $1,000 that you had to take out and you had to pay for the mortgage is making you $1,300 with a profit of $150 a month. That is considered good debt. Another thing could be a line of credit, whether it's a HELOC or another sort of line of credit. Business lines of credit are very common in order for you to flip a property or turn anything that you are investing in into additional funds, just like above. And in these situations, debt is a tool. But if you use it wrong, like you will over here, and you went and bought a brand new Lamborghini and you can't afford the payments and you can't afford to have it, it's going to bury you. And it's going to cause you a lot of headaches. But if you utilize debt correctly, it will help you build more wealth than you could ever imagine. According to CNBC, the average millionaire has more than $500,000 of debt. But I would guarantee you that it's almost all strategic. They know how the game works, they know how the game is played, and they utilize something that I call OTM. This stands for other people's money. So what that means is they are using leverage. Leverage is key here because this allows you to preserve your liquidity. and it unlocks opportunity. Think about it. Why would a wealthy person who's trying to buy a $1 million property do that when they can put down a lot less, let's say $200,000, and finance the rest, and they can use the remaining $800,000 that they have in order to acquire 4 more properties that also cash flow? I mean, that just makes sense, right? So the wealthy understand something that most people do not, and that schools don't teach. Being in debt is not the same as being broke. Let me show you how this applies in real estate, because right now, that is where most millionaires are born. So let's say that you purchased a house in 2020, and it's appreciated by $100,000. You now have $100,000 in equity just sitting there, doing absolutely nothing for you. Now, you can use a HELOC or a cash out refinance in order to pull some or all of that money out and buy a rental property. By doing that, your debt has increased because you had the mortgage over here still. Now you have a mortgage over here, but your income just skyrocketed. And so did your net worth, because as long as you hold this property and you pay the mortgage on it, and you have a tenant in there, just like up here, that's paying the mortgage for you, plus paying your expenses on the property and giving you a cut that you can either utilize for your daily expenses, or what the smart investors do is they utilize this money elsewhere, put it in stocks, a CD, something of that nature, until they have another down payment to purchase another one of these units. That's how they start to grow a portfolio. Now, don't get it twisted. There are some risks with misusing debt. Debt can be very powerful, but as Uncle Ben said in Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. And if you don't respect it, the bad strategy with big leverage is how people lose it all. This is why you need a plan, you need to create cash flow, and you need discipline. Never borrow money to consume, only borrow it to produce. So, the next time that someone tells you that being debt-free is their goal, ask them this: would you rather be debt-free or financially free? Because the truth is, most millionaires are in debt, but every dollar is a soldier out there working for them. And if you learn how to use debt the same way, you can build wealth without winning the lottery, inheriting a dime, or being born into the Rothschild family, or having any sort of trust fund set up on your behalf. If this has helped shift your mindset, please hit the like button. This is going to help the algorithm share this with more people who need to hear this message. Comment below if you've ever used debt to invest, or if you're thinking about it. And subscribe if you want no fluff, real world strategies that are going to help you build generational wealth. Because debt isn't the enemy. Staying broke is.